of ghostwriting is something that we're going to demystify. So I know we're live. So thank you so much for joining me, Lynette. So we're talking specifically about how authors work with ghostwriters. We had a great conversation last week, and I know there was a lot to talk about. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into this. So if it's cool with you, I was thinking we could do maybe like the top few urban myths that we hear about ghostwriting and maybe take it from there. Would that work?
I love it. And thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to Black Speakers Network. This is our very first BSN bookshelf. I don't know if you know that, but this so
Oh,
you're actually making history because we have the event interviews that we
yeah.
do. We have so that's BSN backstage. We also
Yeah.
have we podcast community interviews, and you're our first author community interview. So thank you for helping us get this started off. So ghostwriting. So first of all, so let me jump to my first like urban myth. So
Mhm.
I first one I have is ghostwriters write everything for you. And I think this was like kind of at the core of our last conversation because that's what I thought. Because in the music industry,
Yeah.
you hear about ghostwriters, and that's the connotation. It's
Mhm.
like they are writing your raps for you, and then you go
Mhm.
write them. And so that's the myth that we have. Please let us know, Lynette, what really happens in these ghostwriting
Yes.
streets.
Well, to be honest with you, let's start off with some truth. It can be done that way, but I don't think that that's the right way to do it. And at Right Way Consulting, we believe that ghostwriting is collaborative. Like if I'm going to be writing a project with your ideology and your thought leadership, I've got to have you in the mix as much as I am. So what I do is I interview my clients and I figure out exactly what their core message is. And then I put my little razzle and dazzle on it because I am, of course, a professional writer, and they get all the credit when the book is published. So I'm really on the back end, behind the scenes, creating the product that they probably could not create on their own, for sure.
So really someone has a book idea, right?
Mhm.
And perhaps maybe it's broader than that. Maybe they just have a ton of life experience. They produce things. I'm constantly running into people in Black Speakers Network, Lynette, that have worked in corporate America for 30, 40 years, or maybe they've done something professionally that they want to capture, like that thought leadership. And so essentially, instead of them sitting down and scoping the project themselves, trying to figure out what pieces they want to pull out, they call you, assuming,
Mhm.
and you would so they would call you, and
Mhm.
then let me let you walk us through. So somebody calls you like, hey, I need help kind of packaging my stuff. What happens next?
Oh, we have a quick chat. And since we're not under NDA, we do not go over the details of the book. I just
Okay.
need to ascertain how serious the person is because you have no idea. When people hear that I'm a ghostwriter, people come to me with all sorts of ideas. Hey, I have this idea for this book. And they're all beautiful ideas, but it's just not what I do. So I make sure within that 15-minute time period that we're on the phone, they're ready. They know what it entails. They have their thoughts out. And I ask them not to share it with me because, again, we're not under NDA. But I just make sure that they are ready and they fully understand what it entails to write a manuscript collaboratively with a ghostwriter because it's a lot. It's a long process.
And how long would you say that call is? I imagine there's a lot of questions, a lot of stuff happens during that first intake, but like,
Yeah.
how long is it typically?
15 minutes, Brian. I keep it.
You get it done.
I
Yes,
do, because I'll
yes.
know within the first 3, 4, even 5 minutes if I'm speaking to someone who's ready versus someone who's kinda just kicking tires, kinda figuring out what the process is and if it works for them. So I can ascertain it fairly quickly, for sure.
Got it, got it. All right, you ready for myth number two?
I am.
All
Let's
right,
go.
myth number two, y'all ready? And if y'all have a myth, drop them in the comments because Lynette, you can go back and follow up on any other ones that you all heard or just questions. So myth number two I have is using a ghostwriter means you're not a real author. Your
Oh,
thoughts?
oh, that one is spicy. Look at you.
I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
yeah, I mean, we got 30 minutes, so we gotta give
That's
the people
it.
what they need. Yeah.
That's it. I like it. Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, that's like saying just because you're in shape and you have a personal trainer who helped you get there, you're not really in shape. You really didn't do the work. It's the same sort of thing with ghostwriting. It's your ideas. I'm just putting my ability. I trained for this. I'm a storyteller. I'm putting my ability with someone's ideas. So, of course, they're an author. And writing a book, again, like I just said a few minutes ago, is a daunting task for some people. Some people don't even like to write a LinkedIn post. So, how are they going to write a full length manuscript? So you're totally an author if you get assistance from a ghostwriter. And here's the thing, a lot of people don't know. Some of the favorite people in pop culture and the media, they have ghostwriters. Just no one really talks about it. But I can name several people, and I don't want to, name them, but they're people who you might have on your bookshelf right now. They didn't write their books and they're still authors, right? So the same applies to you.
Yeah, so I see this as kind of like a collaborative process then whereby you are bringing structure, process. I know that you actually work to create a sense of urgency around the process, which I think I want to talk specifically about because
Yeah.
we all know authors like that Family Guy clip where it's like, "You still working on that novel? You still working on it?" Like 2 years later. Uh,
Right.
so I love that you do that. But then what I really see it as an assistance of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an assistance of packaging my existing idea. So if I'm like, okay, I want to write a book on my past 20 years as an executive, that's maybe too big. So then we drill down to like a specific idea. So I'm like, okay, maybe I want to talk about leadership. And then within the leadership vein, maybe pulling on one or two threads that could then emerge into the book. And then I'm then capturing those ideas, thoughts, stories, perspective, models, sharing them with you, and then you're converting that into something that's cohesive for readers to intake. Is that correct?
Muy excelente. That was amazing.
Oh,
Perfect. That's exactly how it works. So for my second meeting, it's a project blueprint meeting because at this point I've ascertained that the person is serious. They have something that has legs. It's a good topic. It's going to be a page turner. Then we have another meeting. And in that meeting, it's 2.5 hours because
that's where the sausage gets made. Yeah,
that's it. Because you're
yeah.
serious. So I want to start with questions that people don't necessarily think of because they come into the meeting, there's so and so this, I'm the professor of this, I'm this person, I'm that exactly, and I really ensure that they are like normalized in this conversation. Like we're going to be having a real conversation. This is going to be like you taking off all of those accolades and you telling me who you are as a person. So once we do that, that kind of disarms them. And then I say, now tell me about this project. And then that's when all the secret sauce comes out. And that's when the story is formed. And then from there, I take that content and I make an outline for them. And then that outline will be our blueprint for moving forward for the project. So that's how that works.
That's pretty cool. First of all, I imagine you could probably just as easily be on this side of the microphone and that, because I imagine you, in order to get great answers from your authors, you have to ask great questions. And so I wish I could be a fly on the wall for one of those sessions because I can only imagine how you're able to dive in. And it's like, I feel like it's distilling, almost like mining for information. Some people probably
Mhm.
give it willingly, but some
Mhm.
people, I'm sure you have to ask you have to get deep into the weeds to distill some of those insights, right?
Oh, for sure. Because again, if you have all these accolades and accomplishments, then you hold yourself a certain way in these different rooms and spaces. But with me, I'm like, take that off. Because I need to get to the story. Because even if it's just a pure thought leadership book on whatever their industry is, I got to weave you in it because you can't disconnect the two. Your story is so intertwined into what it is that you do now. I got to get rid of all the fluff so I can get to the stuff. I really do. I have to get there. So when we are in this zone and we're locked in, I get my best pieces from that because keep in mind when I'm doing this outline, it's going to be the actual flow of the book. These are the chapters. These are
Right.
the little nuancy things. Like I had one of my clients, I told her we're going to have journal prompts in this. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, after every chapter, I want someone to journal on their own.
I was about to say, what's a journal? Okay, so you the
Yeah.
space for people to
Yeah.
reflect on what
Yeah.
they. So you're and so
Actual
that's
prompt.
another
Yeah.
part of it too. You're
Mhm.
providing um So it's not just it's not just extracting the content, but you're actually providing like strategic kind of it's a consultative process for ensuring that we're actually elevating the product too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because a lot of
That's
what I
cool.
do is marketing, because I want to build you some content strategy. We talked about this last week. I want to build you some content strategy so you're not just releasing a book and then poof, you're gone. We need to have subsequent blogs. We need to have so many other pieces that will work in tandem with the book release. So I'm always thinking of how to get the reader engaged, because once you lose the reader, the book is closed. It doesn't even make it out of the store. You know, if they don't like the back copy, it doesn't make it out the store. So while they're reading, if you want them to read it completely, we got to keep that reader engaged. And so having those journal prompts at the end for them to write and reflect on different things, that's a way to keep them engaged, because they're like, oh, I never thought of this. What's going to be in the next chapter, the next chapter, the next chapter.
That's brilliant. I see, Lynnette. See, this is why I wanted to talk to you. I knew you were the first person to put on BSN Bookshelf, like, and we're not disappointed. Even the folks that are watching live, she's saying, Letitia Wilson said, journal prompts are great reflective practices. Yes, I agree 100%. All right, so are you ready for myth number 3?
I'm ready. And it's my
All
favorite
right.
number. So let's go.
For anybody that's just jumping into the conversation, so we covered 2 myths so far. So we
Yes.
talked about myth number 1. Oh, the last myth was number 2 was
Yeah.
using ghostwriter means that you are not a real author, and you dispelled that. And then we
Mhm.
also talked about the first myth, which is ghostwriters write everything for you. And we've already been talking about how collaborative of a process this is. And so I feel like I'm learning a lot. Hopefully you guys are too. So if you are, drop it in the drop me in the comments or drop Mythbusters, drop something. Let us know you're watching.
Trust
Okay.
something. Yes.
All right. So myth number 3, I kind of want to skip because it's not a real myth, because it
Mhm.
says ghostwriting is only for celebrities or executives. I
Mm.
thought, clearly you mentioned some high level names that will use ghostwriting, and I think that's part of the mystique, right? I think sometimes when we think about certain industries, whether it's legal or certain types of healthcare, sometimes we just think that certain services we may be just locked out of because of we haven't heard of anybody that's used it, or maybe people of certain social economic classes or whatever. But
Mm.
what I'm hearing is that anybody could use Ghostwrite. Now obviously it's a paid service, so we
Yeah.
gotta be maybe strategic of when is the best time to deploy it. But this is
Mhm.
not something I feel like is just for celebrities, correct?
Right. And I think that myth number 3 doesn't need to be thrown away. That's very important, because it's all about accessibility, right? There's so many different things that we know exist in this world, but we think that it's not going to exist for us, but it can, because there's so many different levels to this. Like I know someone who writes, typically the way that I charge, and we probably will get into this later, but I do want to touch base on this, is I charge per word. Now within that range, some people, I know someone who charges 15 cents per word, and then some people, they go as high up as $2.50 per word. So that goes to show you that with an industry that has such a wide range, there can be a wide range of clientele. So ghostwriting is easily accessible. It's not something that's just exclusive to those who, make whatever you, based on your budget, you can find a ghostwriter to help you. And there's even some ghostwriters out there who are using AI, and they're getting your ideology, your ideas, putting it into AI, getting it to spit out some copy, and then they copy edit the heck out of it, or they should. Ask them, make sure they are. And then they'll go ahead and put that into a book. That's not
Can, can,
necessarily how I do. Yeah, go ahead,
can you
please.
touch on copy editing, what that is?
Oh, yeah,
Like different
sure, sure.
from, yeah, how it's separated from just proofreading and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Very good question. And thank you for stopping me, because I get to go and I get excited. I just
It's
assume.
cool. That's why that's why we do it.
Yeah. So copy editing is taking the content, written content, which is known as copy, and we make it sound like the person who we're writing for. So it's in terms of phrasing, cadence, um, tone, just all those different elements that make up someone's specific writer's voice. We make that content sound like them. So that's what copy editing is. So if someone says they're going to use AI to write your book, and they take it directly from the model and put it in your manuscript, they're not the ghostwriter for you. They need to zhuzh it some. They've got to spice it up, or they should just be doing it from their brain. But I just only brought up the AI part of it to let you know that there's a wide range of different professionals who do this differently. And it is definitely accessible for any budget.
Yeah, I imagine. So first of all, two things. One, thank you. Well, three things, I guess. One, thank you for the explainer. Two, I love the word zhuzh. I don't know how you spell it, but it should be in our everyday lexicon, I think, and
Right.
more. It should be more frequently used. And then number three, yeah. So I think that, okay, in my mind, when I think about this process, when someone has, well, I guess maybe I have a question and then maybe attack onto this. So earlier you spoke about word count and pricing. So
Mhm.
when we think about specific, so how do most people approach a project? And because I don't even know how many words a standard book is, or should people be writing or is that driven by like a genre? Like I'm sure, science fiction versus a thriller versus an anthology, like different book formats may have, I guess, a different lengths or target lengths, I guess. So how do people even approach that? Like how would an author know how many words their book would be before they write it, I guess, is my question too.
Very good question. And it is quasi specific to the exact genre that they're writing. Like, for instance, I'm nonfiction. I've written for film and TV script wise, but I don't do fiction books for clients. I do nonfiction. I write books for individuals who want to use their books as tools. Maybe they want to get on the stage, become a member of BSN. They want to, further their brand. They want to get more media opportunities. So that's my lane. So with regards to that, a standard book is 40,000 words. So nonfiction book, thought leadership book is 40,000 words. Now, if you want to do a little bit lower, you can do 20,000 to 40,000 words. The range is up to you. But I ascertain the total word count, based on that outline that I've created. So when I've met with them in the project blueprint meeting, if they are just giving me so much that I have to distill down to about 8 to 10 chapters, then I can kind of give them an estimate of how many words that project will be.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like I feel like you have a lot of systems and tools and processes in place to keep this process. I feel like on the back end, it's so tight. Like it's almost like you probably. I would love to visit one, but it reminds me of a vehicle manufacturing plant where there's like a very specific, like you start with all these raw materials,
Mhm.
aluminum, steel, airbags, blah, blah, blah. And depending on how efficient your manufacturing process is, machinery, one thing goes
Mhm.
before other, how you sequence these steps, you can crank these out relatively quickly. You and I talked about your production time for an average project. And I believe you
Mhm.
said projects don't go beyond that 8-week mark. Did I get that right?
You very close, 8 month.
8 months. Just kidding.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
8 months. Yes,
very
that
close.
that feels more correct. So
Right.
so basically eight, and that's the upper limit, right? Or is that the
I would
minimum?
say 6 to 8 is the
Okay.
range, and you're right, 8 would be upper when it comes to me, but I know some people who have done projects for a year, and then some who I don't know how this happened, 7 years. I'll never forget, I met a woman, and she was telling me about her project. She was like, "Yeah, I wanna start a new one, but I guess I should finish the first one first. I've been working with the same ghostwriter for 7 years." I said, "Excuse me? Excuse-moi, s'il vous plaît?"
Ooh,
No.
while you're on that, myth number 4 was all ghostwriters do the same thing. So you might be
Right.
able to put that in.
Right. See, I run my operation not like a drill sergeant, but a friendly one. One who's gonna make sure that you stay on task, because my purpose in writing the book for you, and I always ask this, is what is the author's intention? But my purpose is for you to get published. We're not gonna be, this isn't no disrespect. This isn't therapy. Sometimes we will get deep, but I'm not a certified counselor. I am a businesswoman. I'm a writer. So I want you to get your project out. I want you to make money from your investment, because that's what it is, Brian. Working with me is an investment. So I want you to get money from that. I want you to start booking the media outlets that you want to be on, the podcast, the speaking events. I don't want us to, just be in conversation saying, "Oh, I'll get to the draft next week." No, everything is regimented. I do milestones. and I need my revisions by this certain date. If I don't get them, there is a charge, because I know how this game is. People get comfortable and complacent, and then will say, "Oh well, yeah, it was supposed to be done at this time, but then she didn't finish it on time." No, no, no. We're not gonna do those games. So I make sure it's regimented and it's on time. We stay
I
on
love it
track.
because that's the only way to get product through the finish line. And so, people, to your point, left to our own devices, the book dies in you. It could. You run the risk
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
We had a question come in. I don't know if we can get
yeah.
some rapid fire questions in real quick. You
Oh, I
want to
would
do?
love to. Thank
All
you.
right, because we got like 7 minutes left. So let's see
Yeah.
what we can do. And I
Mhm.
also have one final question myself.
Yeah.
I won't make
Yeah.
sure I forget.
Sure.
So let's
Please.
see. So one is standard book length. You already talked about that. You
Yeah.
mentioned 40,000 words is kind of standard in the
Yeah.
nonfiction generic um, category. And then how do you make a book once complete? How do you market a book once complete? So you talked about that, and I'm so glad you did, because this is very much, do you know 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? That
Heard of the
Stephen
book
Covey book?
Stephen Covey, right? Stephen R.
Yeah.
Covey. Yeah.
He
I
has
heard
a
of it. Yeah.
chapter in there. It's one of my favorite. Begin with the end in mind. That's actually came up on one of my
Yes.
calls yesterday.
Yes.
Somebody read it. So I was like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
great.
Yes.
So you begin with the end in mind.
Mhm.
I feel like, from a marketing perspective, because often, people, I think, get trapped when they write the book and they're like, oh crap, I got a book. How do I
Mhm.
sell it? And you start with, okay, who's going to buy it, and work backwards. Is that fair to
Yes.
characterization? Okay.
100%, because, and I'm glad that you said that, start with the end in mind, because you've got to reverse engineer a plan. And so what I tell people is start writing wherever, even if it's just your writing right now, start writing wherever. And I always say that LinkedIn is that incubator space for you to test out your content and your copy to see how it resonates. Because a couple things will happen when you get active on LinkedIn, or it could be an Alignable or wherever you want to do social media. You begin to get comfortable with the written word in your writer's voice. So I help people establish their writer's voice, because some people, I read someone's content, I'm not going to say their name, but they're a multimillionaire, and it was one step above being inarticulate. That's what his writing was. But here's the thing, his people like him and they get it. If
Mm-hmm.
I had him as a client, I would refine that. We could still speak very colloquial for you, but let's get it tight, because you're also a professional. You're a multimillionaire. But I was shocked, and he paid it. He didn't care. He posting wherever, just the way as is. And I like that. I admired that. So stop getting in your head. Just start posting, and then as you get closer to the book, once we figure out what your publication date is, then we'll reverse engineer, like I said, and we'll do some different milestones. Let's start with the blogs, SEO blogs, not regular blogs, SEO blogs. So that way the Google crawler can pick up your content. But you've got to start seeing yourself as an authority. So your book will be authoritative.
I need a mic, like a fake mic that I can just drop, like just like hold it. There's one up there. I think I'm gonna use it, but that's like a trophy. I don't want to use that. Okay, that's so good. Okay, we got a few minutes left. Is
Okay.
there anything? First of all, just we got to do a part 2, because I have like 17 more questions, not specific to ghostwriting, specific, because I feel like I now have a great understanding of what ghostwriter is. We crushed through those myths, and we
Yes.
clarified those. To everyone that watched live, thank you for your live questions. We're going to be doing BSN Bookshelf on a continuous basis. So if you love this segment, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, let us know so we can keep doing this. Or if you want a part 2 on a ghostwriting, if you want a specific topic that we didn't touch on today or we didn't have time to get to, make sure you drop that in the comments as well on whatever platform you're watching on, so that we can spin up those topics for you, because we'd love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my last question was around intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any IP concerns when you're using a ghostwriter? Do you fully own the content? Is there like an asterisk next to that? Like, how does that work?
Oh, thank you so much for that thoughtful, insightful question, because I know a lot of people have a concern for that. So, if I'm writing a book for you, Brian, and I know that you're already um, a best-selling author, but if I was writing your second or third title, whatever it is, that is yours. You keep the IP. I'm just simply doing the service. And I have a very in-depth contract that I had a lawyer make. And I also have an NDA a lawyer made. And it states that all of that is yours. That's why you pay me so much up front because you keep everything. It has nothing to do with me. I'm the service provider, the creative service provider. So there is no legality with regards to whose IP it really is. Now, what I'm going to start doing based on who the person is and their level, I'm going to probably work in some residuals because some of the books that I've written are bestsellers. And I would love to get a residual check from that. You know what I'm saying? But even
That's
still,
smart.
that's
Yeah,
right. That has nothing to do with the intellectual property that the author owns. I'm just the guide to help them get there.
love it. Okay, listen. I want to get you. I want to pay you some residuals. I would not mind paying you some residuals if we got a bestseller. Yeah,
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
Lynnette, thank you so much for joining us. BSN Bookshelf. Y'all make sure y'all follow Lynnette. Can you let folks know where to connect with you, or if folks want to reach out to ask more questions, or find out more information?
For sure. So the best place to get me right now, because I'm on there a lot, is LinkedIn. And it's just my name. It's Lynnette René Doby. And sidebar, I go by Lynnette René Doby, my full government. And I know people like, why do you do that? Because there's another Lynnette Doby in Atlanta. I'm not lying. And she spells her name the same exact way, her first and her last name, just like me. So to avoid that, I'm Lynnette René Doby on in LinkedIn, not Instagram. I was on Instagram, but I'm not active. But LinkedIn for sure. And also you can go to www.write, WRITE, way consulting, spelled right, inside
Yes.
joke, .net. So they can just hit me up there. And also I'm on YouTube. I have some YouTube videos. I feel like I'm better when I'm speaking to someone, but y'all please go check out my YouTube. They're fun. I just talk about information from the perspective of becoming a professional writer because I do coach emerging writers predominantly that look like you and I. And then also I have content about people who aspire to be authors. So definitely check it out. It's the YouTube channel is the same name as the company, Right Way Consulting.
First of all, those middle names be coming through clutch. I'm so happy that my middle name is James. I'm named after my grandfather.
Nice.
Renee is a beautiful middle name, and it has the accent and everything. So, do you
Yeah.
know who are you named after in someone in your family as well?
No, it's weird. Like my cousin does have the middle name Lynette, but my mother was like, it just came to me. And then the Renee, I like it because it's the masculine French spelling. It's not the feminine. So I was like, that's just so weird. And then
Oh,
my sister ended up moving to France when I was younger. So it's just some synchronicity that I probably don't know about, but no, I don't know for sure.
that's cool. But yeah, you got
Yeah.
that. That's you are unique. So you got that
Yeah.
branded all the way across. And I do the same thing. Brian J. Zoles to always try to keep
Yeah.
or at least the Brian J. Old,
Right.
because there are lots of Brian Olds. And I'm like, what? I thought that was so unique.
Right,
It ain't.
right,
So
exactly. That's how I felt about Dobie. Come on, y'all. How many Dobies do y'all know? And she lives in ATL. I was like, what?
yeah.
It's crazy.
Somebody tag her if y'all know her in the
Right,
comments. So we can
right.
be like,
Hello,
somebody
other
go find.
Lynette.
We should do
Right,
y'all should collab or do a bit. All right.
right, right.
Thank you so much. We're
Oh,
done.
thank
Y'all
you.
have a great rest of the day. And as we
Yes.
always say, Black Speakers Network, keep speaking up because you're